tended to go for women who I was like 75% into, you know, because it was safe, you know. Women who I kind of made up in my head were not as desirable to other men, because one of my big kind of relationship shadows is that I myself am not desired. Like I need to do whatever I can to be, like, to have a purpose in the relationship, so that she doesn't leave, you know. So I was like really very into you, and I was just like fucking nervous, and it felt great. I felt like I was like 14 or 15 at the school disco again, you know. And I remember I just kind of turned around to you, and the great thing about Tantra festivals, one of the marvelous things is you don't need to think of fucking chat up lines. You don't need to have any of that. You don't need to be clever with words or anything. It's all about energy. And it was such a great kind of in for me. Like, I mean, I'm not normally shy when it comes to like words and talking, but like I remember like turning to you and going like, hi, I don't know you yet, you know, would you like to connect? And that was it. We just started like eye gazing. And for me, it was like hug mini fireworks. It was like fucking incredible, like energy, and how much it was like coming up. And I think for me as well, I sometimes have this fear that I'm like too big in relationships and my energy's too big. That I am like physically or whatever, like too much. So like I remember just being scared of like asking for anything, or like I had no idea what to do. I was just like I was like, there was the kind of anxiety coming up in here going, how can I keep her here? You know, how can I make this kind of last, like without the inevitability that she's going to look up and see another fella, and that's the kind of ever present anxiety. And but there was also, I mean, it wasn't overwhelming. It was just stopping me from initially kind of like, because I remember, I don't particularly kind of, I'm not always comfortable being like led. I normally really like being the kind of the driver of the thing, you know.
Yeah.
But I remember you were just like, you know, we were eye gazing, and you were like, I'd like to go somewhere else. And I was like, she's also into this. This is like searching for a high five. Yeah. And oh my, yeah, it was, yeah. So it was, I remember like we kind of, we went, and we were just standing there, and all you were doing was just kind of like stroking my arms, and I was doing that to you, and it was just like, I, like, I remember just kind of thinking like, this is like, I mean, it was, your skin was like lovely and wonderfully soft, and I'd never done this before. This was a break from like the pattern of chat, kiss, and then kiss some more or whatever, take it from there. But this was a paradigm shift, a pattern shift, where like it was just doing a slightly different sensory activity, but it was still like very connecting, because it was taking me away from, like, it didn't seem to matter whether I was like muscly, hot, or competent, or anything like that. It was just pure kind of sensory connection. I remember like afterwards, we kind of went and sat down, and there was honestly some of that is just a bit of a blur. But I remember just kind of like making the suggestion that you could have taken your top off. And I remember you just did it, and like we did more kind of caressing and stuff. And I remember it being, I was like completely lost in it. It was like, it was fantastic. And I remember like it was the first time I properly really practiced boundaries with a woman as well. because that had been a new journey for me as well. I just discovered like the year previous that I had boundaries and that I was allowed to say no to stuff. So it made it something really important for me. So yeah, I remember like you told me that you had this boundary where you didn't want to be kissed. That was your big boundary at the time, was
Oh,
not
okay.
to be kissed on the lips. Yeah.
Oh,
And I just remember it being this wonderful kind of almost like physical conversation where I just got to like really enjoy you for a bit.
yeah.
Um, and yeah, it was, and like also kind of like being on the receiving end, that was actually a massive edge, which was because that was like bringing up the kind of anxiety of like, oh, she's going to be bored, she's going to like I'm no longer in control of this.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
so yeah, that was, um, and I remembered how you kind of reacted to it, and it was like how we kept talking through it. It
Mm.
was that was like not normally something I would have thought would be sexy or intimate. Like normally, like talking, I always felt it took me out of it. But when we had kind of conversations about, like when I would ask you, could I touch you or kiss you in a certain way, and
Yeah.
I remember like specifically you kind of said like, um, maybe, and I was just like, yeah, that's a no.
Yeah.
That's what that is.
Yeah.
That's
Oh,
and like, and I remember, do you know what? Like, this will stay with me forever. Do you know what you said? The sexiest thing I ever said to you was,
what?
I don't go where I'm not invited.
Oh.
So I remember you just fucking melted.
Oh my God. Like, oh, wait a second. Let's stay here a little bit. Oh my God. Because this is so fucking important, like what you were saying. Um, this whole conversation, like around boundaries, around creating this intimacy that is just so different from what we're used to. Like we're used to be like, oh, okay, so I kind of like you. Oh, we're kissing. Oh, if we're kissing, then it means that we are getting like we're getting sexual with each other, and then it's just rolling, and there are no questions of like, can I touch you here? Can I touch you there? Are you ready for me to, for example, penetrate you? If it goes, to the sexual act, it's all just like we just assume that, oh, like this is how it goes. Like this is how we roll, and for men, like if I'm ready, then she's ready, and it's just like this whole pile of a mess, basically. And to really be in the connection where you just fucking let go of all what you learned, and you are just so being present in the moment, and you're really just staying, like you're just staying with those little things of like, just okay, how does it feel if I just touch you? Like, yeah. And just like fucking taking it in this whole moment, right? It's just it's just so different. And what you said about, right, it's like I remember my feeling after this connection that we had was like, oh my God, like it just felt so safe. And of course, like if I feel safe, for me it means that I can relax more into the experience, I can take it on a deeper level, I can open up more, so it just becomes this super rich, nourishing experience, like whole body, like soul, heart, like everything experience. And um and what you said about, like, yes, you were asking me questions like, may I do that, like may I do that, and and yeah, so I kind of forgot, like you just reminded me of that, this kind of like, I'm not going where I'm not invited. And I remember, like now I remember, because it just gave me so much spaciousness. Even now when I hear this phrase, it's like, oh my God, I can just relax. I don't need to be like checking, you know, am I ready? If he's gonna cross my boundary, like, am I letting something happen that I'm not 100% yes to, blah, blah, blah. But no. And for you to ask me and for me to be like, I'm not sure, like, maybe. And maybe means like it's not a complete no, but for now in the moment, like, I'm not sure. And as you said, like, the best thing that you can do in this situation is to take it as a no. And it's not a no forever and ever, but it's no for now, for this little tiny moment. And it can become a yes in 5 minutes. Who knows? But for a woman to experience this, like, look, there is no hurry, like, I'm not expecting anything from you, I'm not here to take anything from you, I'm just here to co-create with you. I'm here to, like, we're creating this experience together, and we're not doing like anything that does not feel like a fuck yes, 100% body open yes. And those kind of experiences, I mean, you and I, we've been in those, you know, circles of tantra for a couple of years. But, you know, before I landed there, before I started opening myself up to that, it was completely like, what? Boundaries? Like, what? Feeling, talking, like, what the fuck is that? Like, it was just all this kind of rolling with what is, thinking like, oh, he expect that, oh, I have to do that, or like, oh, I cannot say no now because we are already so deep into the journey, or we went so far, so now I cannot say no to particular things, for example. And this is where a lot of pain is being created in relationships, in when people connect to each other, because in those moments, this is the moment where, first of all, I allow my boundaries being crossed. So I immediately kind of create some kind of like, there is some kind of a wall and some kind of pain towards this person because this person is crossing my boundary. And at the same time, I'm the one who is allowing this to happen. So there is also, you know, how I am disrespecting myself. And I know when, you know, a couple of years ago, when I first moved into, when this whole topic was triggered, and it also was in a tantric context, actually, in a workshop, there was so much that needed to be felt and moved through. Like, I was just 1 week, I was just moving through like so much anger and pain in relation of like this cross boundaries. And I was just not able to touch anyone because I was like, you're my best friend, like, fuck off, like, don't touch me. Like, I was still connected to people, but I didn't want any physical touch. And it just showed me, like, you know, it just brought up, you know, all of those things where my boundaries were crossed. And it's, you know, also very interesting because we might think that, oh, like, you know, it's only those big things where, I don't know, like you had sex where you didn't want to or whatever. But in this process, I realized, no, it's not about the big things. It's about all of the things. Like every time, every tiny little time where you said yes, although you didn't want something, even your hand to be held, then it's already something that just like, it just stays in your body. It's like, ugh, like I should have, like, it just feels like wrong. So it's so amazing that we're talking about that. It's so important and so beautiful. Yeah, you want to say something?
Yeah, because also like the conversation around boundaries often when it comes to men tends to be one of it's still kind of transactional. Like it's still it's still often from the female perspective. It's still like we have to respect boundaries because, you know, otherwise we won't get the thing. Also we have to respect boundaries because, you know, and sometimes the narrative can be because as men we just go over them because, you know, there's a kind of a there's still a kind of a bit of a negative pejorative around like male sexuality in that context. But where out and it and often what you then get created is these kind of white knight kind of uh, like, and I used to do this too. I would like obey. I would like respect women's boundaries, but it would be from a like a desire to be a good boy kind of thing. It would be like I wasn't coming from an embodied me place. It was just like, oh, like when I did that thing, it was bad. So I need to do this thing. Now that's a good thing.
Yeah.
So when I started coming from it, like, and with you, it was one of the first kind of manifestations of that. When I because I remember I did a intimacy and sensuality weekend, and I'd never done anything like that before, and it was marvelous. But the guy came all the way up to Aberdeen because it was surreal. But and we did just simple boundary exercises of like it was the 3-minute game essentially. We did that, and for those that won't know, it's the Wheel of Consent, Betty Martin.
Mm-hmm.
And when I did that, I was like, I was like, what, 35 at the time. And I was like, fuck, I've got boundaries. I have boundaries. I'd always thought like, and I realized at the time, I thought that boundaries were things that women had that I had to try and get across. That was the entire narrative around it. And that was me. I was like, hang on a minute, because I recognized also that I had been in, I was in a connection at the time, and like I was just doing what I was always doing. I was kind of, being like, codependent as fuck. I would kind of go into the connection. I would do what I was expected to do, so that they could remain and they could like me. I would, I'd play to the type that I was. I was this kind of, big masculine sexual creature who would do the thing. And afterwards, I would always feel like I'd just kind of, sold something very valuable for very, very cheap, that I'd totally kind of betrayed myself. And but at the same time, I remember like the day after, like I certainly liked this lassie, and I was really into her, and we were really nicely connected. But in that moment, I was away, I was elsewhere, I was unavailable, and I couldn't communicate why. I was always confused as to why. Like I felt like I was, I why I just wanted to be in another room. Like, and now I recognize it was because that, yeah, I was doing something I didn't want to do. And I remember speaking to this lassie, and I was like shaking. I was like really kind of, like saying like, I don't want to have sex. Is that okay? I would really like that kissing thing that we do. I really like that. I want to do that for like all the time. But like, I don't feel good to have sex. I was waiting on the kind of Warner Brothers cartoon of like, just a kind of heart-shaped kind of cloud. But yeah, she was kind of thinking about it, and it went, wow. So it was like, fuck, I'm allowed to like, so that it meant that like when, yeah, you're right, we were co-creating. I was like, I felt like, first of all, in that moment, I didn't think I was co-creating. I was just enjoying the hell out of you, is what I was doing. I was just like loving, just kind of like staring at you and like being kind of overly interested in one particular part of your body or something, and like just being really curious and kind of exploring, like, oh, I like this bit. I like doing this. Oh, does she like me doing this? Oh, cool, excellent. So we're both winning here. Like, yeah, and not having any, not having any goals, not have like, honestly, how fucking liberating is that? Because I realized as well. I mean, like that. One thing I recognize lately is I am actually a very anxious person. But I recognized like at the time that I wasn't enjoying like having sex with women because I would be starting off, and I'd be worrying about it. You know, I'd be like, would be kissing, and I'd be thinking,
Yeah.
oh shit,
Yeah.
I need to get her turned on so that
Yeah.
this happens, and then that happens, and then after that can happen, and then hopefully to God she orgasms. Otherwise, what am I for? You know, like, like I have to kind of, yeah. So like I was just letting go of that goal, going like, if all we do is just, if all I do is get to like stare and like caress this fucking stunningly gorgeous woman, I thought I'd won the lottery for the night. It was fucking great. And like also, do you know what was like really funny is like the next day, um, it didn't cross my mind that you fancied me. It didn't cross my mind that you were actually like really, really into me as well. I was just like, or like even that I had anything to do with the creation of safety. I was like, she's a chick at a tantra festival. They all just get their kit off. It's fine. That's what happens. All, that's what they do here, and I am a visitor. But yeah, that's no, the boundaries thing is, yeah, for me it had to be something that started from me,
Yeah.
and then I could come to it honestly rather than, because there is one thing I do need to say about the kind of tantra world is it does also attract the kind of people who, the word narcissist tends to get kind of thrown around quite a lot, but the kind of folk that will pick your pocket, you
Mm.
know, who will like use phrases like, "Well, I don't go where I'm not invited," to, you know, to get in there, you know,
Yes, of
instead,
course.
yeah, instead of like, you know, it also marrying up to behavior. And I guess, I mean, fuck, that's the risk you take, I guess. But
Yeah, of course, of course. There are people who come there with not very good intentions, who just, who just manipulate and just try to get what they want in the end. And I think sometimes they don't even realize themselves that they've been in this dark, dark shadow. But, you know, I think what you said about, like, first of all, the thing about boundaries in men, where you were like, sorry, what? I'm allowed to have boundaries? Like, what? So I think this is so huge. This is so huge because I think especially when it comes to sexuality, it's all very much in this lens of like man. Man is like someone who is like, I don't know, it's almost like a predator. It's like and a woman has to kind of protect herself. And because of course there has been, you know, so much pain inflicted, like, and so much oppression. And of course, like, it's still in the field, it's still in the collective field. And women experience it with men too. And so there is a lot of pain. And fucking that's why, you know, I also want to work with those topics so that we don't bring it in our relationships, like all this bullshit. But where I was going with that.
boundaries in men.
Yeah, but like, yeah, that's why, you know, like, first of all, as I see it, like, there is a lot that women need to clear out in this, in terms of like how we see men, how we perceive men, how much fear we still carry around, how much anger and rage and sometimes hatred, you know. But also, like, for men there is a lot of work to be done for them to allow themselves to actually express themselves. Because like what you said about, like, you know, putting themselves in those boxes and like trying to be good boy, like trying to be a nice guy, like trying very hard not to upset a woman, not to cross any boundary, like being very much like, okay, like what am I allowed to do, what am I not allowed to do, like da 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 da. And like this is the stage where you are like has fucking zero connection to yourself, like zero. And there is just so much fear of like your own bigness, your own like sexuality, and you this like also this raw and wild and beautiful energy, because it has been so demonized in the society. And you also, like, you know, take it in and you also demonize it inside of yourself. And so, like, there is work that all of us need to do for us to also be able to hold this bigness in ourselves and in others. And under this bigness, I mean like whatever, like big feelings, like our like raw expression, like for, you know, what's there. And I think like just many of us are not doing the work to do so, not doing the work to be able to hold ourselves and to hold others, to be in this contact where I can be in my bigness, you can be in your bigness, and whoa, it's just so fucking amazing. I mean, I don't want a man who is just trying to be, you know, to not to cross my boundary and to please me and to be like, what can I do? Like, oh my God, what should I do? Like, fuck no. Like, yeah. So, and I think there was something else I wanted to say about boundaries and yeah, but in a sense, you know, basically what you also said, that this feeling of like, yeah, like I as a man, like I'm not allowed to set a boundary. Like I am not even supposed to have any boundaries. Like what kind of boundaries am I supposed to have, right? And at the same time, as you described in the situation with this other woman, how incredibly vulnerable it felt for you to come to her and to be like, look, like I don't really want to have sex. I just actually want to have cuddles and kisses, and that's it. And I think this is the moment it felt so vulnerable, because like the male sexuality is often seeing like comes with also at this like at one point it's like you need to kind of you need to cut yourself from your own needs. You need to be like very into like, what does she need? Like, what should I do? And at the same time, there is this whole performance thing. Like, I should be like that. I should be turned on. Like, I should be able to fuck for that long and to give her all of the orgasms and blah, 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 blah. And it's just so much fucking pressure. And yeah, to just kind of step out of this role and to be like look, like I don't want to perform. I don't want to be involved in this kind of sexuality. I want to be able to feel into what's there. And maybe there is some wildness there and it's amazing. And maybe there is just some softness and I just want to fucking cuddle.
And do you know what? I actually don't see a particular distinction between wildness and softness. Like wildness for me doesn't have to be, it can also just be like, you know, being silent and like smelling and experiencing just everything that's around you, just everything, like standing in a forest, like naked, having the rain come off you and not moving and just kind of sensing everything is every bit as wild as, you know, jumping around like a so-called savage. So yeah, and it's like you talked about the kind of performative thing. Like when I thought about something else I kind of wanted to say about that, but you talked about the like, you know, saying that we don't want to be, you know, we don't want to have sex. There's such an omerta around like things like erectile dysfunction. I fucking hate that phrase. And male sexual performance and failure to perform. Like we don't talk about it. I've started talking about it with male friends, and I'm pretty sure every single guy my age has trouble now and again, sometimes more than now and again, either getting an erection, coming too quickly, and also there's also the fear of not, like, of not wanting to, or admitting to not being this kind of hypersexualized ideal of masculinity, because it also leads over into how we think about women too. Because like, I mean, obviously, like, you know, female sexuality gets shamed anyway. Like women that we see in kind of popular culture, like women who really want to have sex are made into like caricatures, or like, are kind of like shamed for it subtly or overtly. And folk more qualified than me can talk about like projections and stuff like that. But yeah, like I remember when I was speaking to this woman about that, I was immediately kind of feeling that I was going to be like cut off from like all of like the illness. I wasn't going to be allowed to be, it felt kind of like emasculating in a way. Like fearing that, because I guess that like for me is this kind of fear of this particular feminine energy, this kind of what a kind of Medusa or kind of like big kind of shaming dark energy that wants to kind of cut my dick off or whatever, so that was all kind of moving around, but yeah, it's like it's hard to kind of to accept that liberation because I'm so used to having to because it's another type of weapon or like armor, like and it's also really childish. You talk about the kind of like the performative stuff for being good. It's just being a wee boy for your mum. It's the same dynamic, and because like for me, I recognized that like for the first few days of that tantra festival, all I was really doing was just like walking around with this wee boy and kind of like walking up to him and going, "Can you look after him for a wee bit?" And obviously, like any woman I wanted to connect with was like, "Fucking hell no." And obviously, any woman that was like, "Oh, absolutely, yes, I want you to run away from." It was like that was. But why am I talking about this? Rambling now. But yeah, it was hard initially to kind of, and it's still hard to kind of like to come out as someone who isn't a sexual monolith, because that's what like I feel that like I was kind of expected to be, like always be like ready and hypersexualized and horny and all the rest of it. And also there's a kind of a weird Edwardian chivalry around it as well. It's like a kind of it's almost like a Protestantism as well. It's like she has to orgasm first before I'm allowed anything, so yeah, all these kind of rules that we have to kind of like put in our heads. But I was going somewhere fun with that, but I can't remember. Over to you in Germany.
But like when I was listening to you just describing this experience of feeling all this tension to perform, and if you don't, then you are not a real man. Basically, it's just like the word that came up for me is dehumanizing. It is so dehumanizing, like, because like where is the fucking human, right? Like we just don't allow men to be humans. And I think it's actually one of the reasons why we still have so much violence and so much oppression going on, exactly because we as society do not allow men to be human beings, and because we put so much pressure on them, because we put them in those boxes where so many parts of them has to be kind of cut off. So but yeah, I just also wanted to say a few words about this whole orgasm thing, because I also think that this is just very often the case where anytime people have sex, this is where it's like, yeah, it's all just about the orgasm. It's not about the process. It's just about like the orgasm, and then the thing is, the thing is over. And if the woman came like, "Oh, amazing, I'm such a macho, like I'm so good, oh my god," And if
Putting it
she
on my
didn't,
CV.
and yeah, if she didn't, then oh my god, I'm such a loser, and like shame, shame, shame. Or with some men, it's like I don't even give a fuck. Like it's the most important thing. I came and whatever. Then the whole thing is done. There is no even a question of like, how are you? Do you need anything? Like, what's
How
going
do you
on?
become one of these guys? That sounds great. That sounds really stress-free.
Oh god, please don't. uh, so, but yeah, you know, just I've just also been experiencing that more and more. This kind of like, yeah, like there's no goal. Like we don't even know what will happen today. Will any kind of penetration will happen today or not? Will an orgasm happen or not? Like I don't know. We're just flowing with what's here, and we're not rushing forward. We're not, like as you described, like we're not moving with in our thoughts somewhere else, but we're just being here, like completely here and just in this experience. And yeah, I think like these way of, like living sexuality is just such, like it's just, oh my god, it's just something completely different, like something completely different, and it's just so nourishing and so beautiful and so opening. um but yeah, so let's move forward, shall we? So let's move forward in our story. Basically, as you started already saying that the next day after we connected, actually it was the last day, and right, it was the last day. Yes. And so we had to do some stuff, and in the afternoon we were about to leave, and yeah, we didn't actually really have any contact, and yeah, and then I saw you like standing up and being ready to leave, and I was like, you're not fucking leaving. Like before we talked, like no way. Like no. um because yeah, like I wanted to have a little conversation. I just wanted to kind of have a, let's say, a little closure, because the night was just so beautiful and was just so opening. It was just so like mind-blowing, and like yeah, like I needed some connection. I needed to feel you again and to talk to you. And also what I really wanted is to express my gratitude and to actually tell you how safe I felt and how held I felt. And I was really watching you, and then I don't remember, but I probably stood up and walked towards you before you left, I think. Yes. So again, yeah. So and then we walked and just stood somewhere and we're talking a little bit, and yeah, basically doing exactly what I wished for, just expressing how we feel and being close again and being vulnerable. And um yeah, anything from your side?
Aye, so no, so I remember like we had this closing ceremony, and I'm still in this place of like um uh just my kind of self-preservation story kind of was activating, and just going, yeah, do you know what? It was what it was. She's no really it was tantra festival stuff. I mean, I was like still kind of really, I was, yeah, still kind of feeling a lot, and was, I actually didn't get to sleep till about 5 o'clock in the morning. I was, honest to God, I was just so high on energy. It was in endorphins and stuff. It was fantastic. But yeah, so I remember like the next day with this kind of, with this like, um, invitation to kind of go around and like speak to people that you haven't had a chance to speak to, you just want to say something to. And I remember like kind of grabbing a hold of you, and you were like, no, like I will talk to you later, like as if like this is like this isn't it, mate. Like,
Yes.
just fucking hang back. And then we did this kind of like weird song and dance thing where we kind of would like hold somebody, like someone's hands, and sing this like song that we were doing, and then just say like then just kind of end the connection what you want, and like we like ended up getting kind of like together in that, and I was like, right, how's this going to go? And then you just kind of moved in, and we were just kissing, and that was that was wonderful. That was really excellent, and they're like surprising. But I was like, right, David, and I was like, even in my head, I was like, yeah, you were believing a lot of shite. That was, yeah, this is not like this wasn't just tantra festival stuff. This is an actual thing, and yeah, so yeah, I kind of skipped away after that, like feeling pretty amazing. And like I'm also like one of my other kind of great fun relationship shadows is I'm also like really possessive. So I remember like looking over, seeing you like dancing with a couple of guys in a particular way, and I was just like feeling this kind of like animalistic desire to walk over and like rip them or something. I guess it's like, but I really liked those guys. They were like really good pals of mine. I was like torn. I was like, murdering you guys would be bad. I wouldn't like that. Anyway, no, I remember that the last bit actually, because we were sitting around the table, and like I remember I was feeling crappy the whole day. Actually, I was feeling quite grumpy and angry. And once I kind of fell into it, I just realized what it was. It was like I didn't want to go home. I didn't want this to finish. So we kind of sat around and we're just invited to just kind of look around and just think about like memories. And I just started crying. I was just kind of just sitting like, and it was really nice because like a theme that will come up later on was like a couple of the women kind of came over to kind of comfort me, and I was like, oh, fuck off. Like I didn't really want women to come to me, but also didn't really need anything. I remember holding the gaze of like my big pal Jasper, lovely big Dutch fella. And I was just crying. He was just like looking at me, just welcoming it all, and it just felt great. And then I was planning to talk to you, but I think I was like standing up to kind of go and say hello to someone or go and say something to somebody else, and like like Speedy Gonzalez that you were, just kind of like zoom, like right over. Like, have you got some moments? That was the word you said, and it was great because we just stood. And what was really beautiful for me is when I'm accessing that kind of like mother energy kind of part of myself. It's not a 39, fuck. It's not a 39-year-old guy, or whatever age I happen to be at the time. I'm 15. Like it's the same I felt when I was like, having, like it's just really kind of open, and that's what I felt. I remember like we were standing, kind of eye gazing, talking, and then we just did some more like really lovely sensuous kissing, and and it was, oh god, that was really frustrating because there was a guy giving me a lift to,
I know. It was really bad.
and he was being kind of like, like because like it's like, David, we're going now. I'm like, Dad, I'll be over in a minute. Like,
I know there was a lot of pressure.
I was like, mate, what the fuck is this? Why? And it was. No, it was quality. It was really like, it was very validating to me. It was because I mean, there's like, for me, there's kind of like a bipolarity around like how I see myself sometimes, because I have no issues at all with like my kind of physical attractiveness. I think I'm handsome as fuck. Like I love how I look. But I still kind of like, when it was a good lesson at that festival to kind of ground me in something, because I genuinely, I was like really into you. I thought you were like I did think you were like the most attractive lassie at the festival. Like it was, and again, it's not even about like particular kind of like physical kind of thing. There was like an energetic, there was a kind of softness and kind of like an unashamed playfulness, and like a kind of brave, kind of fierce, like affectionate like thing that I saw in you as well. And also like the curly hair and the glasses are a massive winner for this guy too. But but yeah, it was just like, wow, this really attractive woman that I'm really into seems to also kind of be reciprocating. So maybe I don't need to do that thing that I was doing before, where like I was with women who were definitely really into me, but like, you know, like, you know, it was often through things that I did in my mind. Although it wasn't, but like and it was very kind of codependent. Whereas this, and it was kind of, and I guess we'll get into that a little bit later too, but it was kind of like freaked me out a bit because it was different. It wasn't what I was used to. You know, it was an entirely different dynamic. I was like, but it was nice. At the time, it was just like me being like, you know, like this kind of 15-year-old. I don't know how you feel about, you know, kissing a 15-year-old. Maybe you didn't expect that. I was like really impressive beard for a 15-year-old as well. But anyway, like, but yeah, like, so when I was in that connection with you, it was, yeah, as I said, it was very different. It was like, it didn't totally land and percolate at the time, but like now when I'm looking back on it, I'm like, yeah, this was a lesson for like, I'm allowed to have the things that I want. No, like, like I like, this is okay. I can like, because I have this like big kind of like shadow story of this kind of like that life is a banquet and I actually have to be outside. I just get the scraps. You know, that's like, so like that was, yeah. And I remembered like when I left, I remembered seeing you going to someone else for comfort because you were crying. And I was just kind of like, even then at the time, I was like, that, it was actually that moment, I was like, she really liked me. You know? Like, it's like that. She was, is that, really?
Oh my God, it's so sweet.
I know.
Yes.
At that moment, I was like, yeah, I was like, I'm in the car, and she's like, fuck it.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So I was indeed crying because my fucking heart, I was so open and just so like, just, I mean, the connection. And this is what I'm saying, like, you know, like, yes, this whole connection that we had in the temple it was very short, but it was so mind-blowing and so deep. And it just also, it was one of those things that taught me that, like, look, first of all, you don't need to know a person for a long time. You don't need to, like, you know, have talked about things, blah, blah, blah. You can just meet someone and be with someone on the same, like, some kind of level, and then you can dive so deep and have so beautiful and healing experience. It's just mind-blowing. It's just, you know, it's, yeah, it's something very special, and I think something that that is not so familiar to people, that this is possible. Like, it's fucking possible. And, you know, I also wanted to say, for when you mentioned that you saw me with other guys, and I think I even know what you mean. Like, there were quite some scenes that were a bit crazy, but I think that's interesting because you're saying, like, there was some possessiveness. Like, we can say there was some jealousy, like, what the fuck? Like, I just want to take you out. Like, and, you know, I think jealousy is also such a thing where we have so little understanding about what jealousy is. And we kind of also demonize it. And I think like jealousy is just like superhuman uh, like feeling. It's just so human. It's just so normal. Like the problem arises when this jealousy is being expressed in a very unintegrated toxic way, and when the person who is feeling jealous is not taking responsibility for his jealousy. It's like, oh, you are doing that, like you are wrong, now I need to take you out of the situation, although I see how much you are enjoying that, and I need to do that so I feel safe, so I don't get triggered, so I can control, and then it's all fine. But like
You are
this,
making me jealous. Yeah.
yes, of course, like I'm making you jealous, like, and I am bad. And this is exactly where this dynamic is very harmful, where people do not take responsibility for how they feel, what triggers them, how they need to stay with this feeling, and what should they do with that, and all of the things. So it's just thought that it's interesting that it's that, yeah, that you brought it up. So yeah, basically, let's move on. Yeah.
Yeah. So I remember like, yeah, going home, like back to, like, honestly, like it was like, I know how astronauts must feel when they come back from like the moon or from like space or whatever, because I felt like I'd went back to like my normal life, and I was like, huh, like suddenly having to kind of decompress into
Mm,
like, like a world where like eye gazing straight up isn't a thing.
yeah.
And like talking in a certain way, and like yeah, having all that stuff kind of come up, and then having to just and I remember we like uh like we kind of added each other on the Facebook, and I remember you immediately started kind of like totally Facebook stalking me and going through all my pictures, like liking them. So it was like Victoria Philov like likes a picture from like August 2018. Okay. But no, that was really kind of, I was like, huh, nice. And because I was still back in this kind of idea going, we're
Yeah.
back. It's, like the stagecoach is a pumpkin, the
Mm,
horses
yeah.
are actually mice, and it was all rather make believe. And then we were kind of chatting a bit, and you like being the kind of like uh kind of adventurous, like asking for what I want kind of a woman, was just like, I'm wondering if you want to come over and like spend time for a weekend. And I was immediately just kind of, no, no. Like, because immediately I was just like, no, I've got no time. All those kind of stories. And then there was like this kind of voice in my head going, hey, did you just quit your job? You've got an entire month to yourself. Oh, fuck. Shit. And I was like running out of reasons to say, no, David, just do it. Like, this is, yeah. So, like, because I was like, yeah, like, I was scared. I was just really scared.
Mm,
Um, I wasn't sure what of. I think I was definitely scared that I would feel differently.
yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
I was scared that and how that would be received. I was scared that, hang on, this is like civilian David is going to come and visit, or not like, whatever, like tantra festival David is. Is maybe something of a more exotic uh creature. I don't know, but yeah, I'm not there. I was the kind of all-conquering kitchen coordinator, whereas like over here, I'm like just like, an out of work waiter.
Mhm.
It's like, oh, that's a different guy. That's like, yeah, Clark Kent or Superman. So yeah, I remember like I went over to, yeah, just because yeah, it was going up and down, because I was thinking, she's not interested. She's not really, oh, she wants me to come over. Fuck. Like I was much more prepared for like, and this is a kind of message that would come up quite a lot during like our um doomed time together in Germany, was that like I am actually like, super prepared for rejection, you know. And I'm an adoptee. It's like a like it's you know my whole limbic system's kind of created for that. I was like, yeah, we're going at some point we're going to be unchosen.
Yeah.
We're going to kind of no longer be a chosen one,
Mm-hmm.
and we're going to be like rejected. Cool, armor done. Prepare for that. Absolutely kind of yeah. I was like, oh, what's that hen? You don't want to hang out? All right, cool, excellent. Excellent. Fuck it. But like you do want to hang out.
Oops.
Oh, oh no, like play the game, play the fucking game. Like, and I remember going over to see you, and like I didn't own that I was nervous. I didn't own that I was like terrified. I just like did what I do when I'm nervous and terrified, which was pretend I'm someone else. Like I go into kind of acting mode and go like, oh, what character is required in this particular play? It's because I remember like when you visited, I went immediately into just idle chit chat, and just talking and trivialities and stuff, which I myself don't like, but like I was just like because the context was so different.
Mm-hmm.
I was just like, I don't know what
Mm.
to do here. Like your energy, I felt was like slightly different, but like when I look back on it, I was like, she was fucking nervous as well. You know, this lassie's inviting a perfect stranger into her life, into her very house. Like, of course, she's like, so yeah. I remember we kind of we met, and yeah, we had a really nice hug. I loved how your body felt really soft. And yeah, we went back to your place. We had oh no, we went to the pizza place.
No. Well, first of
We
all,
sat in
we
the park
actually,
for a bit.
yes, we were sitting and laying in the park and talking about all of the beautiful things and men work, and you were sharing a lot. It was very, very beautiful. And it was very like soft connection. Like we were not like, oh, now you're here, like yeah, like it was really, we were very careful, not careful, but yeah, like we were very, very much in tune with ourselves, I think. Even though you say you were nervous, and I was like, I don't remember being like really nervous, but probably, of course, also something inside of me was like, well, I don't know how it goes, like, because you never know when the situation has been taken out of this magical context where it was created. You don't know how it will evolve. But still, I was quite excited, and yeah, so I remember we were like we were just kind of there and just enjoying this presence and just like slightly like touching each other, just like a little. It was very gentle, very soft, and very beautiful. And yeah, I just love how we treated this connection, how we didn't, even in that moment, we didn't do anything because we thought we have to, because like come on, we met here, like we can dive deep and like fucking explore and like, I don't know, do whatever, have sex like the whole 3 or 4 days. And but like we were like very, very, yeah, very gentle and very like, so I think this was very, very beautiful in terms of like we were also not here for any kind of concepts, but we were here just for the moment of like, let's see what the moment needs, like let's see what will unfold. Yeah, so we were in the park, and then we were also in this pizza place and ordered a pizza, and then we were standing outside and doing eye gazing for ages, where this pizza guy was already with his pizza. And people around us like, what the fuck is happening? And we're like eye gazing. So it was lovely.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was. Yeah.
And yeah, I think our evening was basically the same. Like we still were very much like very slow. We were very just being there with each other, just being with some gentle touch, and just like really I would say from my side, like kind of easing into that connection, like create like just yeah, for me, I was like, yeah, it just helps me to create even more safety inside of my body, even more openness, like so that I know that, like, if at some point we are ready to move, like, not forward, it sounds weird, but like go more into some sexual thing, then like I will be just like so open and so ready for that, and just like, yeah. And so it was very, very beautiful, this whole just, yeah, just being with each other and not having any goal, not rushing, not, yeah, not trying to do anything because we thought we're supposed to. So it was very beautiful. um yeah. And so the next day, shall we? Or
So
there's
my, yeah, like um, yeah, I think I remember like that the eye gazing, and um, like I remember like we could have been standing in like the middle of like the autobahn and like doing that, and like traffic moving around us, and it wouldn't have, like, it was really quite, it was very like intense. And I just remember kind of like really kind of um like being there and really kind of seeing your kind of, really kind of feeling your openness. That's what I really kind of got from that, was how open and willing and ready this woman is. And I was just like, and there was this kind of like, voice in me going, you need to be sure of this, pal. You need to be like certain. You don't want to like, break in this. You don't want to kind of, yeah, I just felt this kind of like challenge in me.
Mhm.
And so I think after like, and yeah, I think after that, I maybe I actually started to like slightly close up actually.
Mhm.
I just got, I got afraid because what I was seeing was the stakes. Um, uh, and this is part of me and my whole codependency shenanigans, but I was like feeling very, very responsible for everything that happened.
Mhm.
Um, so I think if this Nazi gets hurt, it's me, you know. Um, so I remember like when we went back to your apartment, it was lovely. I really kind of, I was very kind of, I was like trying to kind of just relax a little bit. But I was also like being anxious and nervous and
Mhm.
talking a bit much, and uh, not. I was still very much in my head. We were doing a lot of like caressing and all the rest of it, but I couldn't get out of my head. I couldn't kind of get out of the kind of protective part of me that,
Mhm.
um, um, and at the time I didn't really kind of know what was happening.
Mhm.
Um, like I was also physically starting to get really tired because I'd been up since like 4 in the morning. But I remember like going to bed that night with a bit of a sense of dread actually, because I was like, because again I just created the story that I was like responsible for like everything that happened, and any feelings that you had were on me,
Mhm.
you know. Like I was no longer kind of thinking about just a deep kind of embodied connection. I'd went into a kind of protective story that I didn't understand. Um, and I remember like the next day, waking up and um, yeah, feeling a bit anxious. But I remember you made breakfast, and it was one of the most like it was really moving to me actually. Like I've never been one to. I mean, I've been on my own for like decades, um, but having like, I mean, it was a bowl of usually or whatever, but you were like breaking the nuts by hand and kind of putting them into the bowl and like cutting up the fruit and into the bowl. And it was really disarming. I'd never experienced that before, and it was really talking about the wee bits of like intimacy and the things that like kind of going back to earlier on when we let go of like scripts of intimacy and sexuality, we start to like, surprise ourselves. Like that was one of the. I still think about it. Like when I'm some days making my breakfast in the morning, and I'm rushing a little bit. Like, no, I remember how that felt to like be cared for. And then we started doing some more kind of eye gazing and caressing and touching, and I could feel like I was actually like, even when I was looking at it, I was like, I don't feel present here.
Yeah.
I don't feel present at all. And I was like I knew kind of like what was going on, but I was like, I'm not really seeing you very clearly right now. I think I need to kind of go away and parent my inner child for a wee bit. So I then went out a walk for, what was it, half an hour? Was it 20 minutes? Was it?
Off, like you.
Oh, sorry.
It's like so horrible. That was
no,
so
I know.
horrible.
It was like 5 hours. It was
because like, yeah, so you basically were like, yeah, I think I need some time for myself, like need to get some and I'm like, of course, like if you need your time, just go for a walk. You didn't take your phone with you, which means you didn't have internet. You were like in Germany, like you don't like, and I'm a very, very chilled person. Like I'm not a person who is like, can you like call me back when you're home? Like I'm fucking chilled. Like I don't expect any bad things to happen, but you were gone for like 4 or 5 hours. And like at some point I was already like really getting like nervous because I was like where is he? Like did something happen? Did someone attack him? Like did he get lost? Like he doesn't know my address, my phone, he doesn't have a phone. Like, oh my god. And so yeah, I was getting like really nervous. So I was like, whew. And yeah, then you came home and like, yeah, I just felt that you were completely just out of, I don't know, out of this moment. Like I just felt there was so much energy and you were just so ungrounded when you came back, and so like, I don't know, anxious. Like it was just a lot. And then we were in my room and I remember you were just standing and like walking by, like walking forward and yeah, back and forth. And I just sat on the chair. And I remember for a couple of seconds, I felt this tension inside of my chest. And I felt like really this fear creeping in because I saw something is going on. And so my fear was, okay, he will reject me now. And I really felt like this whole tension, and that, like I was getting ready to protect myself. Like I was getting ready to close down. But then I very quickly was like, wait a second. Like, I don't know what's happening, but I see something is happening with him. And it's actually like not really about me right now. Like I can create all of the stories in my head, what it means, what he will do to me, like, but like I don't know. And if I will stay stuck in those stories, like I will not be in the moment, I will not be with him, and this is not what I want to do. So it went very quickly, but I was like very like just able to bring myself back and to like really relax. Like I really remember I was like, okay, I'm just here. I'm just ready to see what's here, what's going on with him, and to just hold the space. And like, it's like not about me. I see something is happening inside of him, and probably it was triggered because of me, because of our connection, but it's his. And so I was just like, okay, I'll just be here, and we'll just give him space. Um, yeah. 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 Mm,
I'm going to quickly run to the loo and then we're going to revisit this again.
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So I've got some like really good friends, and I remember like talking to like Lorenzo about this. He's my best friend, and like when I got back home, and he was like, kind of compassionate, listening to the whole thing. And then I said, like, when I went out on walk, I must have been away for like 5 hours, and he just went like this. Oh, for fuck's sake! Like, um,
Yeah.
almost as if to say, "You fucking amateur." But yeah, I remember like when I was out walking, and I remember like feeling I can't go back with nothing. I can't go back
Mm.
like with like I have to like the story that I was cutting about with is I have to know how I feel. I
Mm.
have to know what's going on. Like, and this might be a male thing, I don't know, but I have to have the answers.
Yeah.
Like I can't go home or go back to Victoria and go, I don't know what I'm feeling.
Mm.
Like, I now realise that actually that's a hugely liberating phrase that kind of can bring people together. But at the time, I was still very kind of in. Yeah, I have to kind of walk around. I need to figure out what's going on here. Then I can go back with like Moses coming down from the mountain with the tablets or something like that. Like with kind of like, I have the answer, I figured it out, this
Yeah.
is the thing, brilliant. Um, I also didn't like, I also was afraid that I didn't feel the same.
Mhm.
And I was really afraid of what that might mean. I think really what I was trying to do in that big long walk was trying to figure out a way that I could um, either continue with the connection or like in a way that I could control,
Mm.
um, or extricate myself from it with you still liking me.
Mm.
Um, but it was, I think ultimately I just couldn't handle, I couldn't at the time accept help. Um, I still had like, and I remember when I came back from the walk and you were like livid, like quite honest, I could just, yeah, there was no like, yeah, you were understandably, um, I think quite reasonable about it actually. Like, like, I think you'd have been well within your rights to do a bit more, maybe yelling and throwing of stuff, but that that didn't happen. That wasn't your thing. It was just kind of like, yeah, it was just disappointment
Yeah.
and being let down, and uh, I I remember just going right. I I'm just going to leave. And I remember kind of like I went into this kind of I don't know, like, but whenever I don't know if anyone else like this, but whenever I've like broken off with people, I go into this really cold, like killer state
Mm.
of like remembering where all my stuff is, get it now, and then say to her, I need to go. And I could see you kind of sitting there like a statue, just on your chair, staring at the wall, not even looking at me, going like, like, because yeah, you'd kind of, I could see it, you'd shut down to me, closed off to me, and I was like, right, um, this is it. I'm off ski. Bye. I just went, yeah, it was like, I've got this like thing in connections where I've got like, what I call a go bag, like CIA agents when they're undercover, or like any kind of secret agents when they're undercover, always have a bag with them that's got like money and passports in case the thing goes south and they have to fuck off.
Yeah.
So I've got one of those in relationships all the time. I'm ready. I'm ready to get going. Like I'm expecting it to end. And it's or it's my story is it's going to end. She's going to leave, and I can't control it. So I take control, and I leave first. So that's what I did, and I remember, and I was like, I'd got all my stuff together, and I was just headed out. And then for some fucking stupid reason, I decided to kind of like throw out a wee grappling hook, and I went. And anyway, like all we'd be doing for the weekend would be working on my shit. I was like, that was me being the kind of noble, like, look at how noble I am. I'm saving you from that. Look at me, great, bye. And I remember you just kind of turning and going, why would I not want to do that? And I remember like the emotion I felt at the time was absolute fucking fury.
Yeah.
Like it was like I managed to keep it like relatively under check. But I remembered I was like, what? What did you say? And you were like, why would I not want to do that? What makes you think I wouldn't want to do that? And I was just like, and I remember like walking over to the wall with like my hand in my fist. I was ready to like put my fucking hand through this wall. Because I know in that moment what I was trying to do was to frighten you. I was trying to show you the monster that you were trying to connect with. It was a mistake and why you should let me the fuck go. Because I remember I was like, what is wrong with you? I remember saying that. It's like, what is wrong with you? That you want to do that? That's the kind of way that you want to spend a weekend. And I remember you did something that I will never forget. Because what you did in that moment, you didn't flinch. You didn't start to explain anything. You didn't you didn't play the game at all. What you did was you just cocked your head and just kind of looked at me as if I see you. I see exactly what's happening. I see this like scared little boy or whatever you were seeing. And I just remember at the time, just kind of like, I just like, I stopped being angry, and then the kind of grief underneath just kind of came out. And I remember like, I was like, wow. And then I think you went out a run, because you hadn't been out for like that morning at all. And then you came back, and then we sat in kind of, I guess, stony silence. Because I guess it was quite an awkward situation. It was just me in your room. So it was quite kind of intense. But and it was, I was, as we say here, I was in the bad books. I could just sense that there wasn't a connection much here, but something had changed. And then a bit later on, we started to connect a bit more. I think you started to kind of like open up a little bit. We played some music. We just started kind of doing some more kind of caressing again. And I just remember like feeling, I got really quite emotional about it because and I don't think you saw that your eyes were closed. But I just remember feeling this sense of like, forgiveness. The French word was like rapprochement, that translates, but it's just like kind of reconnection or re-coming together. Because I was like, I still kind of felt like I didn't quite deserve it, but I was just like grateful. And like that night was really nice. It felt like I was like after the big fucking drama that I'd created earlier on, that we were starting to come more together, I think.
Yeah. And just there are a couple of things that I want to just talk about what you mentioned. Also, just also this one phrase that you said, like, I will go first. Like, I will abandon you before you can abandon me. I will reject you before you can reject me. And just this is also so typical. Like, just this is such a typical, way how we try to protect ourselves, how we try to protect our hearts. Like, instead of staying in the situation and showing our vulnerable hearts and soft hearts, we just put on the armor and we're just pretend as we didn't, as if we don't care. Yeah. And we kind of like, yeah, I'm out. Like, that's it. Like, I'm done. And and the situation where so to me, as like the way I see that, or the way I interpret that, it's basically where we have those, we have a particular capacity of how much love and care we can let in our lives. And this is how you described it at the beginning. Like, your whole system is kind of trained to be in this mode of like, I have my armor, like, I'm ready to be rejected, like, but like with me, it was like, I didn't reject you once, and then again, like, I was coming to you and was showing to you, like, oh, I'm still interested, like, I still like you. And for you, it was every time like, what the fuck, like, run, run. The game is not going how it's supposed to. And so, of course, like, for the system, and it's like, of course, deep down, every one of us wants to be loved and taken care of and held. But if this is not what we experience, like, as children, if this is not how where our system feels at home, then our system feels at home with all other patterns where it's about rejection and armor and everything. And so every time we get all of this love and softness, and like, which we actually deep down desire, even if we don't admit it to ourselves, it just kind of shakes the whole system. It shakes the whole house of cards, or this thing that we build our whole life. And I think, like, for you, like, when you came to my place, it was the moment where it just escalated to the degree where before you could handle that, it was just a little bit, but then it was just like too much to handle. Like, the system was just, sometimes, I think last time we were talking, you described it as like sirens going on, and like, woo, like nothing is working, it's like shutting down, like, that's it, done. And I think it's just so important to talk about that, and for us to know that, like, this is a part of relating. And it's not like, it's not that it only happens with you. Like, there are a lot of people that experience things like that. I have also experienced the same thing. It was also like, my pattern when it escalated to degree like that was that, like, I felt like grief. I felt so much grief coming up, and like, I had to cry and scream. And I was also like, what is happening? Everything is so good, I'm receiving so much love, what the fuck is wrong with me and everything. And I also remember where people who were giving me this love, how I felt like, fuck off, like, just disappear, like, go away. Why? Like, I cannot take it anymore. Like, why are you still staying with me? Like, I'm being miserable here, I'm crying, people are having fun, go have fucking fun, like, disappear. And like, yes, and it's just, And it's just so understandable because, like, as I said, like in my situation, as I never experienced like being held as a child and people taking care of my emotional needs, like physical, yes, but like not emotional. And there to feel like, oh, someone is actually interested in how I feel. Someone actually wants to hold me. Someone actually wants to love me, where I feel all like miserable and like I'm falling apart. Oh my God, this feels dangerous. And yes. And so I think it's just so good, you know, that we are talking about that, just to show that, you know, like these things happen and this is okay. And, you know, this is just important to be aware of that and to know that, you know, you're not broken. And yeah, like it's just your system that needs this recalibration. It's just your system that feels so overwhelmed. And it's okay, and you can work, you know, you can work for that, you can feel all of that, and you can start letting love in step by step, more and more and more and more, and opening. And yeah yeah mm, yeah. And you know, I think also what is like what we describe right now are two like very intense examples, like, right, they were like really, you know, the whole system is like collapsing, like phew. But like this kind of pattern can also show in a more subtle ways, where, you know, where we feel like everything is good, we're being loved, we're being taken care of, and then we're like subconsciously like, okay, it's fucking too much, I think I need to take and to go. And then we just find reasons, we're like, oh, I think I need to go, like I'm busy, I need to do some work, I need some time for myself, so I'm getting out of this connection. Or like um maybe we're actually picking a fight just out of nothing, just and I think also like what it can be is some kind of like where we start judging, where we're like, oh, this person is like worse than me and I'm kind of better, and then we just create the separation. Or the way around, where like, oh, like they are too good and I'm like not good enough, so, and then we just create the separation. And this is like exactly where, you know, love is there and it's available, people are there available to see us, to hold us, to, you know. And we're like, no, I'm going back to my patterns because they just feel so fucking safe. Okay. And yeah, so I just think it's very beautiful and important to be aware of those patterns of like, where is the moment where I cannot take more love in? Like, where is this moment? And how can I be with this moment? How can I breathe in and hold myself and tell myself like, look, it's all okay, I know it just feels so like so scary and just so unusual, but it's all fine, like I'm here with you, like look, there is some love that is waiting for us, and like, yeah, and we're here to take some more love in, and you deserve that, and you know, all of those things. But like this is the work that needs to be done in those moments.
Yeah, there's like two things I kind of like when I say that. One, there's that moment where you kind of like, you know, like it's Khalil Gibran calls it, like you two will know the pain of too much tenderness, you know. Like when you're feeling like when you're getting all that love and all that tenderness, and it just feels, yeah, like for me anyway, like, you know, the unsafety, the kind of like, you know, the red alert, the starship's under attack and everyone's running around, that kind of overwhelm. It's, well, I think it's also important to kind of take care of yourself. It's that moment where it's like really great as well to just tell your partner what's going on, you know, just to say, like, see, right now, and you know, it's about the taking responsibility. Like, I'm feeling really overwhelmed by this, you know, because that's a boundary, because it can be, because it's also okay to like, because we can sometimes go into gaslighting ourselves and like making ourselves feel responsible for our partners and going like, oh, I get like, I'm afraid to say that I'm really overwhelmed because I don't want them to. I actually don't want them to like take away the thing. You know, I do want them to like stay, but there's this wounded story that's taken over that it's like, you know, scared that they're going to leave anyway. The other thing about the earlier on stuff was one big lesson for me was that that like the work is like cyclical. It's me, like I had kind of allowed myself to believe that like, not that my work on myself was like done, but it was like I'd reached a certain kind of point where I was like, this is great, I can, you know. And I remember like the day after the the saga of the long fucking walk, like the day after that, I remember like really beating myself up because back in 2005, the last time that I'd actually had a relationship with a girlfriend and all that stuff, when that ended, like that took me on this big journey of like psychotherapy and, you know, discovery and, you know, taking up crying as a serious hobby. Like, yeah, I think I'm an intermediate now. Like I was a novice for a while, but I think I've, you know, moved up a level. But yeah, and I did all that. Like I was like, oh, cool. So now I'm okay, you know, going to relationships. And then I remember like sitting. It was actually the, you know, skipping beyond a couple of steps. It was a night where you essentially kind of, you know, told me really nicely and really kind of beautifully to fuck off. Well, because what you said was, you know, I know you've been in your process for the last day, but you haven't given me anything. Like I thought this was going to be really nourishing. It hasn't really been. I think we're complete, and I want you to go and stay downstairs now. So I remember like being down like in this kind of like archetypal kind of dungeon, and I was just sitting there kind of going like, oh, fuck. Or like after all this work on yourself, you're doing the same fucking shit.
Yeah.
You know, finding yourself in a relationship and fucking it up in exactly the same way. Because with that lassie before, I remember I used to like, she would look at me as if like, you know, like, you know, that the loving look, the kind of look that, oh my God, you're great. And I would like, I remember at the time, every single time she looked at me like that, when I hadn't done something, you know, when I hadn't, you know, done something virtuous or made her laugh or orgasm or whatever, like when I was just fucking being, and she would sometimes look at me and I'd be like, this like rage in me, like this, what the fuck do you think you're looking at? What do you think you see? Like, why are you looking at me like that? And I genuinely kind of like, I was like,
Yeah.
I made a story about her being kind of like naive, um, because she didn't know the kind of the real awfulness that was me. You know, she saw this whatever the fuck she wanted to see.
Yeah.
And I remember like you've been the same because like yeah, my system was completely set up for rejection. I'm prepared for it, you know, and that whole kind of everything is amazing thing, like, you know, Brene Brown calls it foreboding joy. We're just waiting for the fucking shit to drop. You know, we're just waiting like for the natural disaster to come in or for it to end suddenly taken away. So I want to control it, and I want to like, this feels good. So no, let's do something that, and sometimes that can be a subtle thing. Sometimes it doesn't need to be a big relationship rejection. Sometimes it can be making an inappropriate joke. You know, to switch up the tone and make everyone think you're a bit of a dick. You know, like I've definitely could have done that, but yeah, it was going back to, it was me learning that it was like one of the big lessons with it was it's okay to kind of like to do the work, to get the stuff, to be in this lovely moment at a tantra festival with a beautiful, gorgeous, wonderful woman that you want to actually be with. it's also okay to feel terrified at that. It's also okay to kind of fuck it up.
Yeah.
You know, like because I like from that one tiny little weekend, there's a tiny wee like space in my life. There's like so many kind of lessons from that. Because I was like, next time what I'm going to do is hopefully, but that's another thing as well. Is like I can say that next time I will talk about how I feel. Next time I'll say things like, I don't know how I'm feeling.
Yeah.
Can you help me out here? Can I get some support?
Yeah.
Because I remember also saying to you, like, heroically, like, again, like, I don't need emotional support from women. I get it from the men because I'm in the men's group. And like, you did well not to look at me like I was a complete fool for saying that. It was a really, like, it was still a kind of loving look on your face rather than like as if I just said that, like, oh, and the earth is flat and aliens are totally living among us. Like, but you were like, how am I supposed to connect with you if you won't like? And I remember like that kind of being a massive fucking eureka moment, like of like me going, I will never think that way again. That was a stupid like, but yeah, it was. I mean, I'm still going to like, as I said, my system is very set up. Like,
Yeah.
the first couple of years of my life, I don't know much about, but not a lot of like physical nourishment, not a lot of being held with pride, I imagine. Like, because I was like taken for adoption, I wasn't like given up. It was like, fuck, things are so bad, we have to get this kid out of there. So like, I think I am kind of totally prepared for, um, you know, uh, being rejected, abandoned, being treated badly, being all the rest of it. I'm totally kind of set up for that, But I'm not prepared for like for. I wasn't prepared for you staying.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't prepared for like you going like, no, see you, that thing that you are, underneath all the kind of, the sexy Scottish accent and the kind of, the whatever else you kind of, all the rest of it. Like, there's the newness of you that I see that is genuinely beautiful and good, and I want that. And there's the part of me that like really wants to kind of, God, yeah, I need that. That's, the garden kind of comes out in bloom and all the rest of it. But then there's the kind of, there's general of the army comes round and goes, that's enough of that. We're not having that.
Yeah.
Out you go. We need to protect ourselves here.
Yes. It's getting too vulnerable.
Yeah. And I think for me, it's about gradually kind of like feeling into it. Because there was something like earlier on when you talked about your kind of forgoing touch for however long it was, when you just didn't let people touch you. They weren't like really close friends for about, I think you said like a year or something like that. Yeah. And it got me thinking about like when we don't have any boundaries, when we haven't been setting boundaries, we overcompensate at the start. We just kind of like go into like, like we bring, so that, because that's quite like maybe a severe thing of like, no one touches me until I can build up my own kind of boundaries sensibly and appropriately. And I think, yeah, that's my work. I think is because I remember one thing. I remember waking up the next day after the nice kind of reconnecting again, and yeah, you kind of asked me. First thing was like, "How do you feel?" And I was like, oh, "Fuck, nosy bitch." All right, and like, but no, seriously, I was just like feeling anxious. That's what I'm feeling. And I remember like seeing your face kind of like drop a wee bit. Well, that's the story I was making up. I was just like imagining you were like, and again, I was attributing that feeling to this connection and also to you. I was actually making that mistake of like, I'm anxious because of this. So, and then I then went into shutdown again for like the rest of the day. And I remember when I got back home, like waking up in the morning, like a couple of mornings, and I was like, I feel like this every time I get out of bed. Like every morning, I feel anxious. It's got like nothing to do with that last year at all. Then I started kind of like going down the wonderful rabbit hole of like attachment styles and attachment theory and all that kind of stuff, and recognizing that I actually have a highly active limbic system. And like looking back all my life, kind of hyperactive big energy, which was like really cool as a kid, was also just me like going, who do I need to be? This isn't safe. Like I need to kind of like control everybody and be a big clowny comedian so that people will, you know, put money in my cup. Yeah.
Yeah. I was also thinking, because, this moment that you described where I was just like, why not? Like, why not? And where you were exactly in this kind of like, I just want to hit this wall and I'm a monster and it's all horrible and I need to remove myself. And like, don't you see that? And I'm like, why not? And like, I truly remember how I was like, in this moment, I was like, really, I was very, very soft and I was very, very like present. And I was just like, no, like I'm here, like we're here, like where the fuck are you planning to go? Like, and like I think also a big part of me being able actually to stay in that and not to take it personally and not to feel rejected or not to feel actually fear, because you are a man and you are in your own kind of like anger. So I think for a lot of people, a lot of women, they would feel this fear of like, oh my god, what is he doing? So like feeling this kind of like, not being grounded, and maybe even had to make themselves even bigger to kind of make yourself like make you smaller or something. But like, and I know that I also had my triggers with anger. Like I remember I also, a couple of years ago, the first time I was in some kind of workshop when we were working with anger, and there was a man expressing anger in a very raw like way. My whole system was like, I need to go, like it's too much, like it's very dangerous. And I think the more I was actually diving in those depths inside of me, exactly in this, like in the rage, in the hatred that I experienced, like in a very intense way in relation to my mom. And, to go to those really, really dark parts of me and to hold myself and to feel this like insane rage and anger and hatred. I think it just made me like able to hold people in their like rage and not to take it personally and not to feel intimidated by that, but just to see that as an expression of, it's just a feeling. And I mean, you were not getting aggressive towards me. Like if you would have been, then it would be a different story, because like I would just told you, you can go now. But like you were not, like I just saw you were totally in your own like movie, in your own like feelings. And so for me it was very, very easy to just stay there and to just be, and to just kind of, yeah, just be, like really I was just being there and just letting you feel what was there. um yeah. And yeah, like you said that at some moments like we did decide that like you need to go like earlier than it was planned. And I, right now I don't really remember how, like why, but I do remember that like it was kind of feeling that like, yes, there was a lot of kind of work, like we were like, of course it was all around your process, but at the same time I think maybe I didn't really feel you or something. I didn't feel you opening up and like being there with me. And so at some point it just felt very heavy for me. And I just felt like, okay, it's not mine. It's not my work that I need to be doing. It's just draining me. At this point, it's draining me, and he needs to go and do this work by himself. And so for me, it was also a boundary of, okay, like now I need to take care of myself. Now there is this, we reach the point where I see that it doesn't make sense. So, but I also remember when you left, I sent you the message, and for me it was very, very important to just make this clear again, because I think I didn't make it so clear before you left. And I was just telling you, like, look, like I didn't reject you. Like, I didn't reject you as a person, but I rejected the way you were behaving. I said no to the way you were behaving. I didn't say no to you as a person. And like, I still, appreciate you, and I still, like, there is still connection between us, but like, I said no to this behavior. And so for me, it was very important to make this distinction. I thought you kind of knew that, but I know that, we are very vulnerable in those moments. And yeah, it was just very important for me to say this to you, to say it like in a very clear way, that look, like, you are still important. I still like you. I still want to be connected with you, but like, like, we needed to make the step. We needed to get separated for now. And yeah, so yeah, I don't know, just it's even now thinking about that and talking about that, I just think it was such a deep and beautiful journey that we walked through together. And also just what you said, that it's all okay. Like, I think sometimes we also have this expectation of like, oh, I have to heal all of my wounds before I can have a good relationship. Like, that's not true. Like, this moment of like, I'm healed completely and I will never ever be triggered and blah blah blah, it will never be there. Like, it's unattainable. So and like, it comes down to like being real and being honest and being vulnerable, but also being able to take responsibility for our feelings and our wounds and those things. And we can like have beautiful relationships and grow and heal together. So and yes, it's like, especially if it's a very like big wound, which it seems like in your case and in my case, it's a very similar thing. And I just see this coming up again and again. Like, the moment I feel that people want to love me, and in my case it's especially when I'm in a group, like it's even less in one-to-one context, but it's more in a group, like I'm freaking out, like I want to be gone. And I challenge myself to be like, okay, I want to disappear now and escape. And I'm like, can you hold me? Can you hold my hand? And then I just break out, like I start crying, like all the pain comes out. But then like this is the step of towards healing. And yeah, it's just important to know our patterns and how we react to particular situations. And yeah, and as I said, like, take responsibility for them. And yeah, it feels so good.
Yes, it does,
So
doesn't it?
good. It's
I was
so
also just like kind of reminded like that the message that you sent. I remember like the day after, like when I left, because I remember like going to bed just in total shame. I was just like raging with myself, and like I was in like constant contact with like the guys in my men's group, and also like Annette as well. I was like phoning her like from like down the stairs, and just getting like all sorts of like feedback, advice, etc. But mostly, yeah, it was just. But I remember like the next day, yeah, when we could have said goodbye, it was all kind of nice, because I just felt, I was like really sorry for like, which felt good. It felt good to be sorry, to actually kind of be sorry, you know, not for, you know, because apologies can be just ways of saying fuck you, don't hold me accountable, you know. But this was, I was just like, I could really feel the impact of it. I was like, fuck. And I remember like one of the big things that one of the big kind of shadows that kind of came up, because I did so much fucking work, like doing so much of the stuff that kind of came up that weekend for like I thought about you every single day for about a year. You just kept on coming into my mind. And I remember just like having this kind of shadow of like, I can't be trusted with connections because I'll break them, you know? Like, and I went away and like, I remember how like, I had a wee subtle shift in how I treated myself, because my pattern would have been self-flagellation and drunkenness. It would have been like just me going into town and going like, you know, like, and obviously it's Germany, so it's like beer, like, you know, flowing in the streets. But like, I remember just kind of like going like, hang on, imagine this was like a guy in your men's group who was going through this. How would you be like, and if he was like, you know, beating himself up, how would you be kind of treating that? I was like, all right, yeah, okay. So, and I remember just kind of going, like, spending the rest of the day, like, winning football, which was great. It was just like, you know, taking myself on a day out in Bremen. And then, you know, Hamburg. And then I remember, like, you'd sent me this message, and I was just like, I remember just thinking, oh, fuck, what have I done now that she's remembered? Like, I thought you were kind of like sending me going like, oh, and another thing that you did that was bad. I was like,
Yeah. Yeah, even
oh,
more, giving you even more like bad
like
lie.
exactly again like that. But talk about like, you know, patterns of like what I'm expecting from like life and people, and like, oh god, you just keep telling me how bad I am, fuck's sake. But yeah, it was this kind of like, you know, I feel really sad that the connection got broken, and I feel there's still a lot of love there, and I'd still like to be connected with, you know. It's just like, and I remember like sitting there like with like these, by the sounds of it, utterly garbage earphones, um, in this cafe in Hamburg. And I'm like sitting there, like, because that triggered me again. That was just kind of like, you know, what came up was this, like, have you seen Disney's Beauty and the Beast? Yeah, when she goes into the West Wing and she's not allowed to go into the West Wing, and he absolutely rages at her because like she actually really likes it. It's all really nice. It's like a nice flower in a fucking vase and like paintings, and it's all right. But he's like, I told you not to go. Like, and that was the energy that was coming up. I was like, why are you still doing this? Like, why are you? And like, I was sitting like, but it was beautiful because I was sitting crying my fucking, I must have looked like some sight. Like, it was a busy coffee shop, and there was this guy with like a, you know, like a sandwich and a coffee, just like blubbering into his earphones, like, and I was just like, but I said so much stuff. It was so raw. It was all just kind of going up. And I was like, because I can't even remember what I'd said. It just all felt really kind of like I keep trying. Like there was some stuff that came up, like I keep trying to kind of get you to leave, to get you to go away, but yet you're still here. And like I was like really grateful for that too, because yeah, it was obviously great, but because of how I was feeling. And then I remembered, like, I got to the airport and I was like, I felt so light. And I was like, brilliant. I am so fucking in integrity with myself. I feel fantastic. I feel so optimistic and all the rest of it. And I got to the airport and you sent me this message going, I'm sorry, I didn't hear any of that. Could you re-record it? I'm like, what? No. That was a one-time deal, sweetheart. That's never repeated, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
But no, it was, yeah, like it was like I felt in waves like really horrible about it. Because again there was this like other wee story coming in, and it's something that's in all that work. That's kind of, as I've kind of went through the layers of my own relationship behavior. There's the other thing that is, and it's also why I kind of, I've maybe had unsatisfying relationships in the past, which is, this is the only chance you have of affection, of love, of safety. This is the only chance. You can't fuck it up. So then the codependency of like, oh, I need to do that. So like, I was still kind of getting like, there is never going to be another like woman like this that will be into you. That was it, which, yeah, like really kind of did wonders for my kind of self-flagellation hobby. But yeah, no, that was, but I know there was other kind of like days of waves where I'd kind of like on my kind of better days, I'd be like, I went all the way to Germany to just connect with a fucking random gorgeous woman because it felt right. I was like kind of like slapping myself in the back for that. And you as well. I was like, oh, that lassie just invited me over, just like because it felt right. So that's kind of courage that not a redefinition of courage, but just a different type that's maybe not hadn't on my notice quite as much. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's interesting you made this also comparison to this Beauty and the Beast, and I think it's also important to say that you know like yeah, like I was kind of coming back and I was holding you, but at the same time I did also set my boundary, and at the same time like I was taking care of myself. And I was also only doing that because like as I said, you were not like abusive or aggressive towards me. Like you were just in your story, but like I did totally like I knew there was no bad intention, like you were not manipulating me, there was nothing like, because I think like it often happens that women are like doing a lot and just like forgiving a lot and just like seeing like the whatever, either the good, like the good in the person, or maybe something that they kind of, the illusion that they think this person is, whatever. And and just being stuck in some kind of abusive patterns and relationships. Just I think need to be clear about that you do need to, it's very much about like really feeling like, what is this connection like, how am I feeling about all of that. So just wanted to make this distinction. But yeah, yeah, so yeah, I think we said, I mean, didn't even expect we will be talking for so long, but we were like really, but I think there were a lot of really beautiful pieces of wisdom, and yeah, people can take and maybe it can serve them. So
Yeah, I'd kind of forgotten about everyone else, to be honest. But no, I'm really grateful that you reached out. Actually, it was yeah, it's quite random and again beautifully triggering, because like I was just like, no, fuck no, why does she want to do this? What is her like? Yeah, but yeah, no, I've really enjoyed. Yeah, I've loved connecting with you again. This is.
But it's the same, like it's so funny because after I contacted you, I contacted my friend, my very good friend, and I was like, and I told her, he responded to my message, and he actually said that he felt angry when he listened to my message. And I told her, how fucking amazing this is to be connected to men who like can who feel their feelings and can communicate them in a clear way, and like do not make a thing out of that, but they're like, oh look, like this is what happened, like this is what I feel. And it's just like so good. Just so good. It just, and then yeah, so it was beautiful. Like your clarity was incredibly beautiful. And then at some point it was like, oh no, like we are doing that. I do want to do that. I do want to talk about that, and to actually push myself a little bit on this edge, because as I said, for you it's not so natural that you just share things online, whereas I do that quite regularly. So yeah, I think that was very brave and beautiful. And yeah, so my dear, yeah, thank you very much for this beautiful conversation, and yeah, for the connection.
Yeah, thank you. And I'll talk to you again.
Yeah, wait a second, so we'll pause.